Okay, everybody. It's hot. It's hot inside, anyways, because the hot takes are flaming. I mean, Ryan is on fire already, Goodman. We didn't even start recording, and he came out of the chute. We're like, Bob, save some bullets for the show. Bob Ryan, starting with you. Ja Morant last night, 29 points against the Golden State Warriors. They won 10 in a row. Is it? You brought this up, Bob. Is it going to be the era of Ja Morant?
First of all, the end of the game, the last two baskets he made, especially the last one, that's stuff. Any of us who have ever played basketball know that was not an ordinary finish, that left-hand finish of his. It was extraordinary, and it's something reserved for the very best of the best, and especially at the moment. Okay, go look it up, folks. YouTube, just go look it up and see Ja Morant's game-finishing basket last night to cap off the 29-point game. I was just thinking, I think I was standing in the shower. You know, a lot of good thoughts come to us in the shower, you know? And some people in the car singing with the radio, and I do that too. Don't if you're ever sitting
wait, Bob. You have thoughts everywhere. Everywhere you are, you have with showers. I'm
just gonna give you a warning. If you're ever riding with me, and Mac the Knife comes on, Bobby Darin, I sing with the song. I can't not do it. It's ingrained in me. I must sing along with Bobby Darin. Okay, now I'm in the shower and I'm thinking, once upon a time, a generation thought that basketball began with Dr. J. And then the next generation thought that basketball began with Michael Jordan. And now we have a generation that thinks that basketball began with LeBron James. Is the next generation going to think that basketball began with Ja Morant? I'm asking.
It sounds like a ridiculous. If you had asked that question a month ago, even, people would have scoffed at you and said, you're out of your mind. Now, that is a reasonable question to ask, Bob, because, and again, this is a guy we've all known, like, how special he was coming out of the draft. I remember I said this plenty of times. I would take Ja ahead of Zion in terms of who I thought was going to be the better player. Now, Zion had that star quality to him, and again, the marketability. Well, Ja's going to have that because he can do everything. We've talked about this. He's a freak athlete. He's a terrific playmaker for others. He's got the court vision, the passing ability, the electrifying speed. There's everything. The only negative to Ja is he plays in Memphis right now. And people just still aren't, even though they've won as much as they've won this year, I still don't think, again, Memphis has that watchability factor yet. He needs a sidekick maybe for that. But yes, if they get a sidekick for him, Bob, then I think, yes, you could be looking at Ja as everywhere you look on the streets, you're seeing kids, and you're already starting to see it with Morant jerseys.
They should be. And you're right about that the location is a slight drawback. But then again, remember when LeBron went to Cleveland, they were nothing. Right. And they had never been, had never won. And, they had a nice little run in the 70s. And at the end of at one point they were going to be, anyway, but they never had climbed the mountaintop at all. And they weren't in the forefront of people's consciousness about professional basketball. He made that happen. And Ja just may be able to do that. I kept thinking about it, watching the game and listening to the crowd and thinking about, Memphis has never had anything really to sink its teeth into. I mean, they've had some decent teams, but they've never made a run, frankly, and I
don't know if they have enough.
No, I don't think yet.
They don't have enough. They're a good team. We talked about it. They're a fun team. They're likable, all that. But again, I think when you look at their roster, it's better than like the Cavs LeBron 1.0 rosters where like Mo Williams was the second best player on those teams. Right. It's better than that, but is it significantly? Is Jaren Jackson good enough to be a number two? Is Dylan Brooks good? Dylan Brooks has been playing great basketball.
And he didn't play last night.
He's probably a number three guy. Yeah. At the end of the day, he's probably a really good number three guy for a championship contending team.
But where we are right now is that if you're a fan and you want to see them play because of him, period. And that's enough. And that's enough to attract you to Memphis. And interesting, I didn't check. We'd have, what the preseason lineup was for how many network, big time appearances the the Grizz were going to get. I suspect not many, frankly. I suspect the Grizz were not in the forefront of the programmers about how to, align the NBA TV schedules.
So Luka or Ja today? Gun to your head.
Ja.
Who are you taking? Are you taking Ja ahead of Luka now?
Well, I'm on record as once having overstimulated myself and saying that Luka takes my breath away. That was 2 years ago, and that went a bit too far with that one. Yeah, he has triple double the other night. I'm happy. Look, Josh Moore is. Ja appears to is more viscerally entertaining, but Luka is more to the sophisticated basketball entertaining. But the average person would easily vote for Ja. I think no problem.
It's better to.
I'm waffling. I'm officially waffling.
Okay, well, they beat Golden State last night, which brings us to our next topic. And by the way, remember when Memphis was 10? They won 10 out of 12 without Ja Morant. Ja Morant, everybody went, well, is it Ja Morant? Yeah, I think we know what the deal is there. So speaking of Golden State, now everybody's talking about the return of Klay. Jeff, I'll start with you on this one. Does Klay Thompson, last night aside, down the stretch, does he make, when it comes to playoff time, does he make Golden State unbeatable?
I mean, if he's healthy, if he gets back to 95, 98%, it's hard to imagine this team losing, right? I mean, now you've got Klay and Steph. You got Andrew Wiggins, who fits in perfectly as your number 3 scorer. You've got arguably the best defender and the guy who gives you that kind of innate toughness and accountability and won't back down in Draymond. The only piece that I'd love to see him get back, and I don't know when he's going to get back, is James Wiseman. And I think if they get Wiseman, he's the one thing they don't have. And, man, if they could get Wiseman back, and I don't even mean like James Wiseman playing 28 minutes. I mean playing give you 14, 15 key minutes, because Gary, you haven't seen him much yet. Bob, you haven't seen him much yet. He's 7 feet. He's super athletic. He's long. He can change the game in the defensive end. And I'll tell you what, he's the guy you can just throw the ball up to, and he can outrun almost every big in the game. He can outrun him. So think of that, right? Klay on the wing, Steph pushing it, Wiggins driving to the basket. Nobody is going to be looking at James Wiseman. So he, to me, is kind of that X factor that would put them even further over the top than they probably already are with a healthy Klay.
Here's what I'm keeping my eye on is Poole. And I think this is key, how he's going to adjust and how, now in the first 2 games, we have the Dixfield notch sample only now, 2 games, So, all right. And now here's the deal so far. Thompson has played exactly 20 minutes in each game. Poole played 24 minutes in the first game and 22 in the second game. Thompson's had 17 and 14 points. Poole has had 14 and 12. He didn't shoot well last night. He was 3 for 11. He was 1 for 6 on threes. But I'm going to keep my eye on that one, because if Poole can adjust and become a super sub after being used to being a guy that they were starting to rely on. Right. But it's not. He has to know. Now, I think we mentioned this last time. I don't know him. I know nothing about him. I don't know how stable he is. I don't know how grounded he is. I don't know how aware he is. I know none of that. I just know he's had a hell of a year so far. But he's going to have to adjust. And if he can do it and give them that kind of a prorated scoring and everything,
Bob, here's the thing.
That's going to be awesome.
Here's the thing. No matter who Jordan Poole is, and I don't know the answers to that either. I don't know him well enough, and I can talk to people around him, but he's playing for Steve Kerr. He's got Steph Curry and Klay around him. He's got Draymond to keep him a little bit accountable and in line if he gets out of line. Yeah. I don't worry about anybody. I think that team, the makeup of that team is so special, and it still baffles me that Kevin Durant didn't want to spend the rest of his career with Steph Curry and Steve Kerr. And Bob Myers. What are we doing? KD, you could have won however many titles, and instead you're walking to Brooklyn and playing with Kyrie for half the year. What a dumb decision.
It was, and I think
what a dumb decision.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I think when you look at Golden State, they're kind of Patriot-like to me, Jeff, where they've reinvented themselves. Because if you take a look at how they won before, you had Andre Iguodala coming off the bench. You had I think Childress. You had a different cast of characters. Yeah. You still have Steph. Don't get me wrong. You still have Steph and Draymond and Klay's back. But now they've kind of reinvented themselves. And without Durant, they've kind of reinvented themselves. So that's a testament to the front office, because you guys have mentioned guys that people have never really heard of.
We thought the window was closing and almost closed 2 years ago with them, right? We thought once Klay got hurt a year, whatever it was, a year plus ago, when he got hurt for the second time, we were like, all right, the window's probably closed at this point. And then they make this trade for Andrew Wiggins, who's much maligned by people like myself, because he'll never live up to the hype of the number one player. He'll have some games where he's terrific, but they paid him all this money in Minnesota when he never guarded anybody. So now he's never going to guard anybody at a high level, but he's done a better job. And again, he fits now. He doesn't have to be the savior. All he's got to do is be a piece that can go for 20, and nobody's got to take. Again, anytime Steph's on the court, everybody else is going to be played one-on-one. So now, Wiggins, you're one-on-one, and you're not one-on-one against the best defender on the court. You're one-on-one against maybe the third best defender on the court now.
Well, so to answer the original question, that I would say that they're not going to be unbeatable, but they would go in as the favorite. I mean, was for sure. If Klay returns to, as you say, fill in a blank, 80%, 85%, whatever. The early returns are impressive. He looks comfortable, right? Yeah. Isn't it a pleasure to watch a guy make a 15-footer? Isn't that nice? I like that. I'm so happy seeing that.
He can make a 5-footer. He can make a 15-footer. He can make a 25-footer.
Just remember, folks, he's the guy, not the other guy. He's the guy that had the 37-point quarter once upon a time.
Right.
He's the guy. And by the way, once again, I reiterate, every time we do this, I'm duty bound. Klay, I voted for you. So don't blame me. I voted for you. Okay, now I just get that on the table.
I think we need, hey, Gary. I think we need Bob to wear a Klay Thompson headband next time.
I'd pay money to see Bob Ryan wear any kind of headband. I'll tell you that right now.
I bet he wore one. Back in the day, Bob, did you ever wear a headband?
No, I predate. There's a guy that was falling through the cracks of NBA history who gave us two things that have become permanent in the NBA. Who was it that introduced the headband and the shaved head?
Slick Watts?
Yes.
Was it?
Bingo.
Nice job, Gary.
Hey.
Well, when he said the shaved head.
But he was the first one.
Yeah, Slick.
And that I remember that shaved the head. And Michael, I don't know if Slick Watts was his inspiration, but at one point Michael said, "Oh, the hell with it," and it became his signature. But Slick Watts, ladies and gentlemen, gave us the two of them together. Yeah. He gave us the two of them together.
And the Sonics were a fun team to watch. From downtown Freddie Brown, Sigma, all the way through Lonnie Shelton, they were fun.
And who's responsible for identifying Slick Watts and promoting him? Bill Russell.
Really?
Yeah. Good job. Well, Russ doesn't get
who knew of Xavier in Louisiana? None of us.
Sure. Well, Russ doesn't get enough credit for that. All right, we want to move on to the rookies. Jeff, last night you were wondering, is there a rookie of the year?
I mean, listen, I thought it was going to be Eric Mobley.
Yeah, right now it'd be Mobley. I agree. It's pretty obvious.
I think it, to me, he's probably the guy. I know if you look at it, you're saying a guy like Franz Wagner has picked up a lot of steam at this point. But Evan Mobley, I'm sorry, I think I said Eric Mobley. Evan Mobley has been terrific. And, Bob and I talked about this before the year a little bit about Mobley. My concerns, is he tough enough? Is he enough of a killer? He is so skilled. I mean, the things he can do at 7 feet are ridiculous. And he's not a guy that wants to be something he's not, right? Every 7-footer now, what do they want to do? Go out and shoot threes. And Mobley was a guy at USC and early in his NBA career who's understood, like, where my bread is buttered. I'm better off around the basket, blocking shots, rebounding, running the floor. He can handle it. This is a kid who's got incredible potential. And I think I'm glad Cleveland's got some players here. And, the sad part with Cleveland is they've lost now Colin Sexton and Ricky Rubio. No. And Sexton going down didn't hurt him at all, but I think Rubio will.
Yeah, no, I think so. We have to resort to Rondo now on his 8th team.
Yeah.
I think it would clearly be not unanimous maybe, but it would be very by acclamation. It would be Mobley right now. I want to ask you, Jeff, as the guy who saw these guys, or one of the guys that we had never seen, and that's Jalen Green. But then the 1 and 2 picks were Kay Cunningham and Jalen Green. That was pretty obvious. They're each averaging 15 points a game. Cunningham's shooting 39% on threes. Green's shooting 40%. So there's a wash there. Their numbers are very similar. They play the same amount of minutes roughly. Cunningham 32, Green 30. How would you evaluate this point in the early, 1 quarter or halfway through the season?
Listen, both are shooting it better than I thought. Kate came out really, really slow shooting the three.
Yeah,
remember he was hurt. He was hurt to start the season, so he missed the first few games. Came out, struggled shooting the three. He started to shoot it much better than I thought he would, because last year I just didn't know if it was a little bit of a fluke at Oklahoma State, because he'd be the first to admit he did. He was like, I know I got to become a better perimeter shooter. Jalen Green, unfortunately, both these guys have put up numbers for teams that stink, which generally is the case, right? KD did that his first year in Seattle.
Right.
Like, you're going to put up numbers that sometimes are inflated because you're playing when you're down 20, 30 points consistently against second, third unit guys that frankly, don't care about defending against Kate Cunningham or Jalen Green. They just want to get theirs. So we got to see more, but I think, they've both been good, not great. And to me, the biggest surprise so far has been Franz Wagner. Again, another guy for a team that hasn't been very good, Bob.
No.
In Orlando.
They are way off the radar screen.
Way off the radar because they're not good. But the thing with Wagner is everybody always thought he was kind of a tease at Michigan. And all right, is he going to show up? Mm-hmm. Isn't he? You knew he had the skill level. And he's kind of that new age forward that everybody likes because, he can shoot it. He can put it on the floor. He can pass it. He's that multi-dimensional forward. I think ultimately this is going to be a good group that gets better, the rookies, but nobody has emerged as even LaMelo, right? LaMelo was a guy that just absolutely emerged and also electrified. He's a guy that you want to watch because his passing ability is so incredible and he's flashy and fun. And the other part was, let's face it, Charlotte was pretty good last year. That was the other thing. They were better. Detroit stinks. Houston stinks. I know they went on a little bit of a run, but they stink. And Orlando stinks.
There's a guy that is gladdening my heart a little because, we always find a guy we like and you want to see how he does. And he's doing well under the radar screen. That's Chris Duarte.
Duarte.
Excuse me. Yeah, sorry. Yep. Yeah, right. I love him. I can't even pronounce his name right.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's terrific. But he's getting significant time. He's getting 29 minutes a game. He's averaging 13. He's shooting 43, 35 on twos. But he's getting, I liked him. I somehow just caught my eye and I liked him. I'm happy to see that he's doing well at the bottom. That's the bottom of the lottery. He was the 13th pick.
Great piece. He was ready to come in. That was the one thing was he was a 4-year guy in college at Oregon.
Yeah. And that's probably why I liked them, by the way. I always try to find those guys. I definitely like them. Interesting draft, Jeff, that just apropos of nothing we're talking about, but just that there were 8 international players in the first round, 7 countries, starting with number 6, Josh Giddey from Down Under.
He's been good.
Number 7, Jonathan Kuminga from Congo.
He has a play.
Franz Wagner. Joshua Primo, who's a Canadian, getting a little time. Alperen Sengun, Turkey, getting a little time. Time. Kai Jones from Bahamas. And then the 2 Spaniards, Usman Garoba and Salty Aldama. And then with an asterisk, born in Japan, but very much raised in America, and an alumnus of famous Oak Hill Academy, which I did a story on 35 years ago, literally.
Wow.
And that would be Cam Thomas. People don't realize he was born in Yokohama.
I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Giddey's been good. Sengun's been good. When I watch him, he really impresses me with his footwork, his toughness.
Yeah.
He's been good. And another one you didn't mention.
Go ahead.
Omar Yurtseven has played great.
Okay, I didn't go into the second. That's got to be second round. Right?
I don't know. I think he was like a couple of years ago undrafted, played overseas.
Oh, okay.
And the Heat called him up because they were thin. Yurtseven started his career at NC State and then transferred to Georgetown, and he's been incredible rebounding the ball, Bob. You got to look at his rebounding numbers lately.
Okay, I shall.
He's been insane. Now, again, it's all about timing right now, right? For like a kid like Yurtseven, well, guys, again, protocols, they're out or injuries or whatever. Yeah. He gets an opportunity. This kid's going to stick in the league and probably make a lot of money in the league now.
Keep my eye on him. Yeah, it's hard to keep track of everybody these days. Honestly, God, it's just impossible. But anyway, so overall, it's not a.
Well, no one guy has emerged as the superstar, right? The guy you're gonna like.
One more guy to note that he's been pretty damn good, and that's Scotty Barnes.
Yes,
Scotty Barnes should be noted here.
And Herb Jones, another one who's playing. If you love defense, watch New Orleans' Herbert Jones. Sorry, he likes to go by Herbert.
Okay.
He is awesome out of Alabama. One of my favorite college players of all time. He can lock down 1 through 4 and lock them down.
All right, very good.
Well, you touched on one of the Ball brothers, but we're going to get to that coming up on how they've exceeded expectations. But first, we're going to tell you about LinkedIn. These days, it can be hard to find and hire the right candidates for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. Focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience and use screening questions to get your role in front of the most qualified. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/scribe. That's linkedin.com/scribe to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We all know about Papa Ball, I should say. And this guy was just so unique and out there. And I thought there's no way these kids are going to be able to shake the old man. But Bob, both Ball brothers, have they exceeded expectations? And now maybe the father wasn't so crazy.
Well, he still could be crazy. I think a tribute goes to the kids. I think that they I don't know, they figured it out, that they love their dad, I'm sure, and they appreciate that he's always, in his mind, done what he felt was best for them and all that. And I think they appreciate it. But they're just different personalities. And I've been impressed from the get-go when about in the Lonzo and his personality. And I used to kid that first year, his rookie year, I said, I wonder what daily life is like. Because this is when the father was still very much informed, very much in the news, very much couldn't kids. And I wonder what daily life is. Do they kid him? They say, your dad went off again, and he laughs, I don't worry, I don't pay attention to it. I just wondered about that. But both of those kids, those guys, those young men, have figured out how to negotiate being who, LeVar's kids, but being their own people and fitting into the environments that they, and where they function and where they work. I'm impressed with those two for that reason.
Listen, Lonzo, I was never worried about because he had already established himself for the most part, as I guess I shouldn't say never worried about, but his IQ for the game, he was so even keel, never got rattled with all the stuff that was going on with Lonzo at UCLA. And then obviously when I was in Lithuania and LeVar took shots at Luke Walton, Lonzo never let it affect him, never came out, found a way to navigate it so well of still being good with the coach, with Luke Walton or whatever coach, Steve Alford at UCLA, yet never taking shots at his father. Like he was just so pure with everything he did. And again, I love Lonzo. I love the way he plays the game. He plays it really in a way that Bob Ryan grew up watching the game. And I grew up even watching the game, which is pure, like just moving the ball, making the right pass, not really being flashy. And now he's shooting 42% from three, by the way.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? which was always the big question about Lonzo. Can't shoot.
Particularly since he was shooting it from his hip.
Right.
You know.
And then you go to LaMelo, and I won't waste time with the middle one, LiAngelo. I'd always said he's not an NBA player. He's a good overseas player. But LaMelo, my biggest thing with LaMelo was always the bad habits that he accrued over the years. And I saw it firsthand in Lithuania. Like bad habits being put in, but he's found a way to overcome some of the mistakes that I think his father made because he is so talented and his court vision is elite level, just like Lonzo's, but they play the game so different. Like as simple as Lonzo makes it, LaMelo makes it flashy. He's the youngest kid. You know, he was, when I always talked to LeVar or any of the kids, they would say like, LaMelo is the favorite one. He can do anything. He was the youngest one, right? So he could get away with whatever he wanted. He would jack threes. He might airball 3 straight, and LeVar would still yell at him to keep shooting the ball. And so he had that rope. But listen, his numbers and his impact is incredible. And those bad habits, like he wasn't a good teammate in Lithuania, but you know, I forget he was like 15 years old.
Yes.
Like he was 15 playing with grown men. They didn't like him because he didn't take it seriously then. But he's grown up. Obviously, I haven't been around him in years, but he has grown up, which typically you do between years 15 and 19, right? And now you look at him, his teammates love him. Why? He plays with a passion, with a flair. And he gets him the basketball, Gary. That's what he does. He makes life easier for Miles Bridges, for Gordon Hayward, for whoever. If you want to play with somebody, you want to play with this dude because if you're running the court, he is going to find you.
You can't overestimate what you just said in terms of how that affects a basketball team and players when they know that there's a guy whose raison d'etre is to get you the ball. And I lived through this in my embryonic days covering the NBA. The Celtics, a name that will mean nothing to modern people at all, and that was Hambone Williams. He's my standard of, I'm not lying. They get the garbage time. And there was lots of it because the Celtics were so good in those days. And they get the garbage time, and guys would be practically crawling over each other to get up to sit next to Heinsohn to get his attention, to get in the game, to be able to play with Hambone Williams, because Hambone was going to get everybody. His whole thing was making everybody else look good. And he was a phenomenal passer. But I mean, so I learned right away what the effect that can have. But in general terms, people, Larry Bird, his passing was contagious for that team. And so you can't overestimate what that does, how good that is for a team.
More on the Celtics.
I'm happy I'm wrong. I'm happy I was wrong because I didn't know if LaMelo would make it, Gary. I just felt like, again, the bad habits, the immaturity. He didn't want to defend at all. And I'm really, really, really happy I'm wrong. I haven't talked to I talked to Lonzo for a second when he came into Boston, but I haven't talked to LaMelo or LeVar, obviously. And my relationship with LeVar ended poorly, as we know. But I always felt like bad for those kids in a way, and it was hard to feel bad for a 15-year-old.
Anytime you didn't get a Christmas card, holiday greeting of any kind of happy holidays?
What was that? You didn't get any free sneakers? What were the sneakers? The big what?
Big Baller Brand.
Big Baller Brand.
I was afraid Big Baller Brand, if you put them on, you might like remember Zion when he blew out his Nike?
I know.
I was afraid if I start wearing those and jump around and do anything athletic, I might, they might blow up because they sold them for $3.50. They probably cost $2.50.
Well, yeah, but it also might not have been the shoes, Jeff. I just hate to tell you. And before we go, Bob Ryan's going to take us home with a little Mac the Knife.
Oh, the shark bait has such teeth, and it shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife has old Maggie Bay, and he keeps it out of sight.
All right, goodbye, everybody.